So today we have Susan Holliday and Tile. Thank you. Susan Holliday is a retired science teacher who has been interested in succulents ever since she tasted cooked prickly pear pads at her grandmother's house. She is a graduate of NAU with bachelor's and master's degrees in teaching science. She did her master's thesis under Tina Ayers, where she fell in love with botany. She is a member of the Arizona Native Plant Society and a master gardener. She has many prickly pears growing in her yard, as well as a few other succulents. Although Sue I know is actually our teacher here. And then we have Patty, I'm sorry, I kind of mixed up there. Patty is a master gardener and member of the Arizona Native Plant Society. She is a co-developer and webmaster for the website, a Northern Arizona Homeowners Guide to Identifying and Managing Invasive Plants. Since moving to Flagstaff in 2013, she has volunteered in the botany collections at the Museum of Northern Arizona and on the grounds of MNA, the ARB at Flagstaff, the Grand Canyon, and other sites. Her passion for seeing expert knowledge made available to the public was cultivated during her 22-year career as a reviewer and manager of public programs at the National Endowment for the Humanities. All right, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. So, Sue and Patty. It's the Sue and Patty show. And if I press this button on the board. So this talk is about landscaping with cacti and succulents. We have four main issues we're going to address. Why now? Because people are not in the habit of growing these plants in Flagstaff. Where are the gardens in Flagstaff where they're actually being grown successfully? What kinds of plants are likely to be successful here, and how you might get started. If you have a quick clarification question, go ahead and ask it, but for big questions, let's wait till the end. So make sure we have enough time. So why is this a good time? This is kind of a personal journey for me. I started thinking about this, and that's kind of my contribution to this. We have climate change, more heat, and less rain. We've always needed to grow water-wise plants. Becomes even increasingly important now. It turns out that Flagstaff and its environs are increasingly hospitable to desert plants. Succulents can be integrated. Cats can be integrated into a variety of other plants. Cacti and succulents can be arranged into standalone gardens. Cactus and succulents are viable in various Flagstaff microclimates. As you probably all know, depends on where you live, what you can grow there. And however, we won't be growing saguaros because we only want cold hardy plants, and that's an important thing when you're looking for plants to ensure that they are cold hardy. So if we're in the Flagstaff area, this is kind of a map of the neighborhoods. Are people growing cactus, cacti, and succulents? We're going to look at Pine Knoll, which is down here off, well, kind of behind NAU. Yeah. And this is a garden. This is a really fabulous garden in Pine Knoll that has, here we have some,
ferret cups are right here. These are, I don't know what kind of yucca they are, but it's a yucca that she has.
it's probably a narrow-leaf in the cholla.
The cholla.
And she has all kinds of plants in there. And this was a picture I took just a couple days ago. The cholla is still, that's the prickly pear is still there, but she has a ton of other things. The whole area is just covered with this. It's really, I want this. Lower Green Moths, another area. This is where Sue lives, and she is growing this plant, and we're gonna start identifying plants later, but I'm just going to show you what people are growing. She's growing this beautiful flower. Shadow Mountain which is up there, just, west of Swiss Manor. And, what she's done is, you can see, she's got kind of a hillside there, and she's planted a number of things, including cactus. It doesn't have to be all cactus. In Sue's yard, she just puts them wherever she wants to put them. They're just all over the place. And there are just many ways. No, it's cool. There's many ways you can do this. Swiss Manor. Look at that yucca. I mean, that's crazy. And there's agave, and then a variety of cacti here. Cosnino. And this is kind of where I started my adventure with cacti and succulents. This came up all on its own in our yard. It's a narrow-leaf yucca. And this I bought as a tiny plant at Native Plant and Seed back when it was a thing. And it's grown to this. And it's just, you know, there's a sage over here, there's just all kinds of stuff here. You just plant it somewhere, you know. And then just last year we developed a rock garden. We had a landscaper help us do this, but it bloomed this spring, and it's growing. It's very exciting. Arboretum at Flagstaff, which, as you know, is one of the coldest places in the universe. And they've got a lot of things. They're kind of reorganizing now, but they do have this section that's called a water-wise garden, and in there is this huge yucca, banana yucca, and yeah, they have agave there, and then they have some prickly pear, which isn't quite like that, or not like glass. So, what is the relationship between cacti and succulents? All cacti are succulents, but not all succulents are cacti. Cacti are plants that have succulent stems and branches with scales or spines instead of leaves, and are found especially in dry areas. And while we're mentioning spines, we should also mention the little tiny glochids, which even if you've missed the spine, you can still get those glochids stuck in here. I had a hard time getting them out. But don't let that deter you, because you can deter you. So this is, we're going to look at cold hardy cacti. This is a prickly pear. Again, that's the one that's growing in Sue's yard. A black spine pear, prickly pear. I think that's the same one. And these are all growing in Flagstaff. A brittle prickly pear.
This one I'm gonna give a little talk on. Those are the ones that grow up actually on Buffalo Park that you get really mad because they get in your dog's fur. And I guess if you get into, and Patty's gonna talk about this, there's places that you can buy cactuses. Okay. Anyways, there's some places you can buy cactuses, and there's one, I guess people find cactuses or they breed cactuses, and they did breed one of those small little prickly pears to look like this. And they have really beautiful little orange flowers, and it's called a Opuntia fragilis debrisi, or DeBrisi's cactus if you're gonna order it from someone, and you can pick it up, okay? So this one is more people friendly than the ones that you can find up there on, you know, the top of the mesa, but it's still all the same species of cactus. So I just wanted to let you know that not all the cactuses are as unfriendly as these guys are, even though they do have beautiful flowers, okay?
These are Potts prickly pear.
Patty, can you mind stepping back one second?
Sure.
I don't know if it's just me or.
Plains prickly pear, those are really gorgeous. And that's in your yard, right?
Well, that's the one too that's
Right, that's right
behind
here,
you.
it's blooming right here.
Yeah. Those are flags, you can find those out in the woods too, here in Flagstaff. And you can find them in some of your neighbors' places, or if they're building houses. And a lot of people would say, I don't know, I don't think I'd dig it up, but they definitely say, yo, take that, you know, it's in my yard. And then all you have to do with them is really neat. You just throw them on the ground and they root and they grow. They're not they're not really hard to root at all.
Engelmann prickly pear, and that is the one that's at, that place in Pineville. Oh, no, that's the Shadow Mountain.
They're the ones with the beautiful red, tasty fruit too, if you like prickly pear fruit. That's nice.
So leaving the prickly pears, we're talking about choyas, and I'm following my notes here.
There you go.
Choyas are, yeah, that's one right there.
They're in a different group. They're the Theoplantia, but there's Theoplantia. And I know they grow all over Patty's yard, just
Oh,
Pam's yard,
Pam's yard, yeah.
sorry. They're very easy to grow. If you go down Lockett Street and kind of look to the north side, before you get to Thomas, somebody had thrown one out there, it must have been ages ago, and it just came over the whole side of the thing down to the, so these guys can really grow. Their flowers though are very small and yellow, so they're not big and showy kind of like these guys, but they are pretty. And they're easy to take care of, and if you have a place where you don't want your neighbors to walk.
Yeah, and one of the ways you can tell that it's a choya is they have tubular branches, and they spread all over the place, and they've been known to jump on people and travel with them, and one way they travel, and you have to take it off your jeans or whatever and stick it in the ground, but yeah, so that's another very you can see how it spreads out and how the stems are kind of, I don't know if you call them stems, or tubular. And so that's one way you can tell them from hedgehog cactus. We're not going to go, there's millions of kinds of cactus, but this is another really common one. And it's kind of got little bulbs, and then these flowers come out.
Yes, there's somebody here that said, yeah, you work over at Picture Canyon, they do have some of these at Picture Canyon. Up on the rocks on the side there.
Yeah.
And then you can also find these up on the side of Mount Elgin, so.
And they multiply, and so you have a lot of different plants, and they all bloom when they spread out. They grow over a wide range of environments, from low hot deserts to cool mountain slopes, and they don't like the shade. They like sun. And my neighbor has a really gorgeous one of these scarlet ones. It's in woods, but
It's something that Patty just mentioned too, when she said, you know, how they grow from the desert up, you know, those are kind of a little bit different, but when you get a cactus from somebody, like make sure you get one that's used to up here. Like if you go down to Phoenix, they have a lot of really neat cactus stores, and I can tell you I've lost a lot of cactus that way, but they're beautiful, but they're not adapted to our climate. So you might get something like this, but it wasn't adapted for Flagstaff, and so when you put it in the ground the next year when you come out, you'll find a pile of mush because it froze in the snow. So, and I know Patty's gonna go over some of the places that you can get cold hardy cactus. So that's one of the things we wanna, you know, kind of put out there is that when you buy cactus that's used to up here, because we do have you know, weird freezes in the spring, we have snow, you know, this is not exactly the easiest place to garden.
and don't grow saguaros.
Yeah, don't grow saguaros.
Hedgehog cactus. One of the things you can see here is how they're just like separate plants, and they're kind of tallish. I want some of those. And these are just little like little wall escobaria. There's like some million of these, so we're not gonna go through all of them, but, you can see there's a variety. Moving into succulents, cold hardy succulents, there are yuccas, and, they're notable for their rosettes of evergreen, tough, sword-shaped leaves and large terminal panicles, which is a thing that goes up like this and then has a flower up there. White or pinkish flowers. They're native to hot and dry parts of the Americas and Caribbean, which includes like. And this is a banana yucca. Probably, if you've ever seen a yucca, you've seen this one, because they're all over the place. The thing about yuccas is when they can bloom every year, and we'll see when we talk about agaves. They bloom once and they die. So it's a banana yucca, narrow leaf yucca. This is the guy I found growing in my yard without being invited, but I was very glad to have it there. We have a couple of yuccas here. This is a golden sword. These are plants that are for sale at Warner's. And this is a grape lights red yucca. And they are for sale. We're not promoting, we're just saying. Agaves, they have spiny margin leaves. Oh, this is a yucca too.
Yeah, that's yucca.
This is an agave. And it's a Perry's agave of a kind of variation. They have tall spreading panicles, and some are cultivated for their fiber or sap or for ornament. And this is a Perry's agave, and there are a lot of different kinds of Perry's agave, but this is one that's blooming, and that means it's dead. It's going to be dead, and it'll take maybe 20 years to get to that point. But then it'll bloom, and they're just amazing blooms. But then that guy's gone. So Susan likes yuccas because they don't die. I like agaves because they're beautiful. All things must pass. So that's my agave, and this is another. Let's see, yucca.
Yeah, it's the one right.
This one right here, right. This is really a pretty one. This one might come home with me. Other cold hardy succulents, sedums, and Warner sells a ton of these. A lot of them are just really cute. Sedum.
This is actually the lady across the street from me's yard, or her garden, and she said she bought these from Warner's like, I don't know, 20 years ago or something, and she doesn't really take that much care of them, and they just come back every year. And so these are, I had an ice plant in my yard like that too. It's just kind of like, I was at the time teaching, and I didn't have, I had kids, and I couldn't take care of it, and it just kind of like here, but just, they're easy to take care of. They're not, I know some plants like orchids and things like that, you have to like kind of baby them, but these guys, you throw them out in the yard and they're good to go.
When we were gathering these from from Warner's plant staff in the back, and Haley showed me how nice these are together. You could plant them different ones together in there, and then they spread, and they can really cover a lot of ground and keep it from getting really dry.
Different flower colors all
Yeah.
mixed in together. And
Yeah. These are other stone crop, but there's a bunch of them here. Hens and chicks, of course, are pretty well known. These are two different varieties of hens and chicks. And these are at Warner's, and this is at Warner's, it's a little green one. It's trying to be a cabbage, but it's and then these are ice plants, and there's no text there, but were these in your yard?
These kinds.
Yeah, that kind right there.
That kind there.
And what kind is it?
It was just.
It's a yellow ice
Ice
plant.
plant. That's-
Ice plant, yellow isis.
Plant, you know.
And this is from a gardening website, but you see how they've mixed the ice plants in with other plants, and that's just a nice thing that you can do. With catmint and little yucca down there. So, you could, as we said, you can plant them in existing beds where you've already got stuff growing, mixed in with other plants. You can plant them anywhere on your property, which is Sue's strategy, or you can create a dedicated cactus and succulent garden. And I'm just briefly gonna say this is my rock garden, and we had a landscaper do it, but she gathered up a bunch of material, screen topsoil, manure mix, pea gravel, mulch, and sand, mixed them all together, and then she built kind of a hill, and added a lot of rocks, and that helps keep the soil from going all over the place, but it also keeps heat, maintains heat, and you really don't want to water these things too much. So here's some suggestions about where to find cold hardy cacti and succulents. First of all, seeds and cuttings. I mean, Sue was saying you can just cut off a pad and stick it in the ground and it'll grow. And there are seeds. Have you had experience with seeds?
Yes, I did bring some seeds for you, and
I'll keep
if you want
going.
some free seeds, if you actually want to try this, but believe me, this is a first-year cactus right here. They'll come up, and they have little, I don't know if you can see them, they come up, look like a little plant, and then they get this little thing growing the first year in the top, and that's going to end up being like that one back there. So,
This one.
yeah, and these take at least 4 or 5 years before they all bloom. So this is not a process. If you want to do this, if you have a yard and you just want to take some of the seed, throw it out there, wait 4 or 5 years and see if you get some cactuses, and you probably will. And then they'll be there growing. So there is that possibility, but if you want to have something that's flowering within a year or two, what I would do is get a cutting. The ones that we have out there that, you can have these for free, because the lady that, what was her name? Pam,
The one that had all the ledges and.
she gave us some cactus cuttings, so they're just potted back there. If you want some of those, you can take them. If you need me to take them out to your car, and I know this is more of an M thing, should I keep going?
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Okay, if you need me to take them out to your car, I brought some gloves. I did bring some hefty bags, so that way you can set them on top of the hefty bags. And because when I was bringing them here, I mean, not only did I probably got all sorts of stuff all over my car, because when I turned the corner, they all fall. So I'll put them on a hefty bag for you. But you're welcome to take them, because Pam said she was, cutting her plants, and she just wanted to get rid of them.
May I ask what kind of gloves you use? 'Cause I've got a whole kit, but lost my pair of gloves, and now I can't find any that are
Okay,
hardcore enough.
for cactuses, the best thing to use actually is tongs.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
those too.
But other than that, these are my old gloves. They're leather gloves.
Okay.
I mean, they're kind of the same gloves you'd see the ladies wearing out there wearing. And they
Yeah.
work. I know some people like cloth gloves better, but I don't know.
Cloth doesn't work.
Mm-mm.
How about,
Leather.
how about rose gloves?
Huh?
Rose gloves that come up to the heel.
Oh, okay, well,
Would
the
it
only
work?
thing about when you do gloves and stuff like that is that if you're doing these kind of cactus, if you're doing these guys, go for it.
Just your cloth gloves will work.
Yeah, if you're doing these, even if you get rose gloves, you're gonna get the thorns in there. And if you have a lot of time where you're sitting there watching TV and you wanna put, put thorns on your gloves, you can do that, but it's like, I
Yeah.
go with
I
this.
tried rose gloves and they came through the hands.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because these
guys
are
sharp
a lot
too.
more aggressive than rose.
You can also, after you take them out of the pot, put them on a shovel, carry them around with a shovel, and
Uh-huh.
actually put them in a hole that you guys created on the shovel without ever
Right.
much touching.
Right.
You know, the backfill is the
Right.
question, but on the
Right.
other hand, you're not touching.
There's no way you can work with these without having some kind of magic gloves. Arboretum sales, I was out there the other day, they didn't have any cacti, but they might at some point. Very good growers down in Cottonwood, although you have to be a little bit careful to make sure that what you're getting is cold hardy. And Warner's has a few things, they don't have a lot of cacti as such, but they do have the stone crop and the, I didn't know this till today, they have agaves and yuccas and, different kinds of those things.
There's another place between Cottonwood and Jerome that specifically.
I've heard that, what,
I haven't, we drove by it, I wanted to go in there, but we were too
Okay.
late, but,
between Prescott and,
no, between, Cottonwood and Jerome.
okay.
It's right along the road
Okay.
there.
I'll try that too. So, I've gotten a lot of mine online. Cold hardy cactus has quite a variety of things. High Country Gardens, Waterwise Gardening, you could order them online, but you have to go pick them up in Santa Fe, which, nobody wants to go to Santa Fe. But, and Etsy, a lot of people are selling them on Etsy. And just, again, these three will identify them as cold hardy. Etsy, maybe not so much, but if you know what species you're looking for, those are good sources. I've ordered from all of those sources and they've wrapped them very well and they've done what they're supposed to do. And if you get serious about this, I cannot recommend highly enough this book called Cacti and Succulents for Cold Climates by Leo J. Chance. He's in Colorado. And it talks about building the space for it, different types of things that work, and way beyond the plants that we presented today. And it's a Bible. It is a Bible for cactus growers. And yeah. And then I found it useful to visit some of these sites just to get more information about succulents. And I put biodiversity.org sign it in there because a lot of our slides are from there. And it's something everybody should know exists. It's a very, very detailed, how would you put it? It's a website, yeah.
Yeah, it's a website and it tells you what grows where. So it's a really neat website. Like if you know the name of your plant, you can put it up there. They'll give you a map and they'll show where it grows. If you want to know what grows in your area, you go to the map thing and then you can put a link on there and then it gives you a whole list of everything that grows in your area. So it's just a good, if you're into native plants at all, it's a very good website to go to. So.
And it's constantly being built. It's one thing, NAU and
ASU, that's a
yeah,
whole
and
story,
Museum
yeah.
of Northern Arizona all have programs where they collect specimens and key them out, and so the information in there is very scientifically based, and
Up to date.
and they have some great photographers.
Oh,
Yeah. So I think that's that. But I guess we could take any questions you might have. Yes,
So, cause you showed us pictures of different, plants, are there specific species within those that are more cold hardy, or is it just
Yes.
depend what they've been bred for? Cause I have a backyard that has like 3 ponder, small backyard, maybe the size it's from this, 3 ponderosa pines. So I have some spots of sun, but I probably wouldn't go for the one you said needs a lot of sun.
well, they all need sun. I mean, they're all sun creatures, but,
Are
But
you-
are there
what
some-
neighborhood are you in? 'Cause
I'm
that,
in Boulder Point.
okay, cause that's a thing too, like, our elevation here goes from probably about 7,800 or something, you know, on the north side, all the way down to 6,800, you know, down below where I am, and so you're looking at a range of elevations, a range of rainfall.
interesting though that there weren't any in Cheshire. I mean, I'm thinking it might be harder up in that area, although, you know, we put out a call and asked if you're growing cactus, let us know, and then we followed up, and we didn't get anybody from Cheshire, and maybe that's just an accident, but it is colder up there,
So
so,
what I would do is I would start out with something that's really cheap and easy, because that's what I did, and you know, find a place you think it might really grow, either that or ask, like you did, like ask a gardening person. But what I did is I just found things that are cheap and easy, put them in my yard, and I've lived there for a long time, and it's like, oh boy, that grew, great, you know.
Well, I stuck a few in pots. And
Yeah.
it didn't even occur to me I could put them in the ground.
Uh-huh.
And they're fairly happy,
Uh-huh.
but you know, I stick it in front of a window in the garage in the winter, and maybe I don't need to do that. Maybe I could put him in the ground.
It depends on what, like this one here, in probably my neighborhood, it grows really good. Patty's neighborhood, this would be, Patty's neighborhood. If you took this up to someplace like Cheshire, it'd get too much water and it'd die. It just won't grow
yeah,
there.
we get so much more water up there. I mean, in Cosnino, you know, you're kind of in the desert, right?
So
Can be, yeah.
it really depends, so.
Okay, so just try it.
Yeah, if you don't mind losing plants, just try it. If you don't wanna lose plants, ask a gardener. Like, what's the lady's name that did yours?
Christy Sorrell.
Yeah, Christy Sorrell. She was a gardener out at ARB, and she knows what she's doing. So if you're wanting to build up something really nice like what Patty has, you know, get somebody that knows how to do it.
Yeah.
And that also has
I'm
the,
just tucking.
yeah, if you just
Well,
wanna tuck some in and you don't care if you lose them, just try it.
well, that's kind of what I did with, you know, when I saw that yucca coming up. It was just one, there was like 3 of them came up. And I'm thinking, okay, we're kind of, Sedona's moving up here or something, and so I'm gonna go along with the show, and then I tried the agave, and I just stuck it in a bed where there's other stuff growing, and and I thought, okay, it's worth trying this, it's worth
Okay.
trying this, and
I'll try something.
you might lose something, if you don't invest too much in it, whatever.
How about winter protection for the sort of borderline plants?
Okay, what I would suggest is like that one that she showed, it's on the south side of my house.
Right.
Up against the wall. So I don't need to do winter protection for it, but it gets the heat off the wall, and so it's kind of like I know if you go to Master Gardeners, Patty is going to tell you about this, like to walk around your house and look for your microclimates.
Right.
Because you have microclimates around your house too, and so, you know, if it's something like this, I mean, that grows out in the forest too, but in certain places, like you're not gonna find it way up in the peaks, but you are gonna find it, you know, down in this area. And I just put it up against, well, actually, this one was from a housing development in Sedona, I'm to think of it. So, but that's where I put it and it grew. But I think if I had put this on the north side of my house, it wouldn't have made it. So it's kind of like that. I don't really protect my plants that much over the winter time. I'm more of a person that's like, well, they make it or they don't on their own.
Yeah. Yeah, I always tried, this isn't a cactus or succulent, but I always try real rosemary in my garden. And it does really well, and then it freezes and bits of it start dying off, and I've tried to put stuff over it, and because I live out where I do, it blew away. Not the plant, but the covering. So, you know, you can try it.
Burlap or something.
Yeah, something, yeah. But it's not something I've tried.
No, there is a little farm, God, what's it called? Cause they sell over at the farmer's market. And they do really good, like if you wanna learn more about like hoop houses and that kind of stuff, they're the person to go ask about that. Cause, I don't know, I have the same problem with Patty. I've tried hoop houses and I've had the stuff just blow off.
Yeah. It's a windy place.
I'm gonna kind of backtrack. What I use with mine, I've got a bunch of pots that I just bring in, are the clear plastic containers.
Oh, yeah.
And I put those over and put a rock on top, and that way when the sun's shining, it'll shine right in, but it keeps the snow right off them and keeps the cold off.
You mean like a kitchen
Yeah,
thing?
like
So,
I don't know what you call those tubs, but you can get them in a whole bunch of different sizes.
Chests or something like that, like clay clutches.
No,
Plastic
closures,
covers.
Oh,
that's
Closures.
yeah.
Closures.
Those are usually glass, aren't they?
Oh, I've seen
Well, you
plastic.
can get glass lamp
Uh,
things, go to the thrift store and then you can use those on smaller ones, kind of screw them into the ground,
Right.
so.
Are anybody here actually growing any of these things? You are. Yeah.
I wanted to just tell you a fun story about the prickly pear and where I found it. We are New Englanders who have been here for almost a year and a half. And some people that knew us said to me as it got to be wintertime, there's a prickly pear in the driveway.
Cracking
Bring it in. I did. And it's now growing in a pot inside,
Oh.
and it's fine. I'm looking at the soil right now, and I think you could use better soil. And you could go outside. But from a driveway crack
Yeah.
to a continuing plant.
Right. It's amazing what, it's one of the things, when I go to a place like the Grand Canyon, you see plants growing in the rocks and you,
Oh, yeah.
it's just amazing, just amazing what they can do.
So when you propagate by seed, so for agaves and yuccas, and then the red flower,
Yeah, that's a yucca.
that's a yucca, yeah, that and a banana yucca, then do you think that the soil mixture that you had was equal proportions of like a topsoil, pea gravel, mulch, and sand? Do you think that's a good mix?
Okay, actually,
Or native soil or?
there's a place a site that you can go to, and it's called, Central Arizona Cactus and Succulent Society, or the Cactus and Succulent Society, and they have more information on that because the different species, like the different types, like different things.
Okay.
Like I've done these guys, I've done prickly pears, and they do, if you really want them to grow like this, they do pretty good, but you have to like scarify them, and then you put them in the soil, and it takes about a year and they come up. Because usually something eats them and it goes through their gut, and that's how they.
Oh, right.
Those guys, I'm not sure if you're supposed to scarify them or not, because I've never like grown these guys from seed.
I've got starts on all those, I've had them, but it doesn't seem like they're thriving, and I don't know about pot size and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
They sell something here at Warner's, and I looked into this when I was first exploring it. There is a cactus soil.
There's a cactus mix.
And whether or not that's effective, I don't know, but anybody have experience with that? You
Yeah.
have? Yeah.
Works for you?
Yeah, I think that this big mix of all this stuff was because it was gonna be a whole dedicated, and the chances of stuff just sort of blowing away or clogging, getting too dense and everything. It was designed to house a lot of different plants.
I mix sand in it.
Yeah, I've read that
It
too.
can really rough up the clay.
Yeah, unless you have sand soil.
Yes.
Sandy soil.
Yeah.
Yeah, ours is more clay, but
Ours
Mine's
is-
pretty sandy.
is it?
Yeah.
Lucky you.
It's a mixture, cause I mean, we kinda tested it, and you and I are about in the same area.
Yeah.
I think some of it is clay, but in the back it was sand,
Yeah.
almost all. Is that crazy or what?
Probably had some sort of a stream or a wash or something at one time going through that area.
Maybe,
So, 'cause I know,
huh?
Do you have any thoughts on irrigation after planting?
okay, what I will say, and this is what I do, like your first year, get it established. These guys don't irrigate them too much, cause I was gonna bring a whole bunch more, because the lady gave them to me and I put them in pots and I decided to water them, cause I thought I could hurry up and root them.
Mm-hmm.
They rotted.
Oh.
Too much water and they turn black and they rot. So I would say that get them, these guys, you can get them, established and then go goodbye and you don't water them ever, hardly.
This garden, this garden, she has shade. I mean, I don't have any shade, but she has shade, and she doesn't irrigate at all, and she goes out and waters once in a while. I do have irrigation, and she put in a really one that really has a slow flow to it, and that is how you're gonna destroy them, is watering them too much. And yeah, and I'm sorry I can't tell you exactly how much you should water them, but
Well, again, it depends on where you live and how much rainfall you get where you live and what the temperature, cause what did Hattie say, it's like 15 degrees differences between one part of Flagstaff and
yeah, I mean, it's really,
just really, we're living around a mountain and I've heard the mountain makes the weather and
right.
if you're on the south side of Mount Eldon, it's gonna be totally different than if you're up in, up by the museum or something, so.
Right. Right. Well, unless there are any other questions, I think we've, oh, yes, okay.
Do you believe in handheld water meters?
I have no experience with it. Anybody else?
I use them and I think they're great. You just
Yeah,
stick
I
them in, or
use
it's a
it all the
probe,
time.
you probe, you stick it in, it's about that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use them for house plants especially.
House plants,
Yeah,
cactus.
And they're pretty accurate.
So
Remember,
what
the city
does
was
that
giving
look
one.
like?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
It's got a green head on it, and you stick it like a thermometer or type of thing at the bottom, stick it in and it gives you just a read.
Oh, yeah, we
From
do.
driveway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that note, actually, Flagstaff's Office of Sustainability is giving those away.
Right.
So if you email them, they'll give you a soil water meter.
And they're about $15, $10 to $15
Yeah, right.
online to buy.
Yeah.
You can buy them at Planté,
Yeah,
Planté downtown.
Oh, okay.
probably I'm at Warner's, really, anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Home Depot. Home Depot.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So, you talked about being from New England. I moved here from Northern Virginia, and this is not Virginia. I know it's not. And people say, don't you miss all the flowers, the azaleas and everything? And I really don't. I mean, I loved it when I was there, but I've really come to love the flora here. And I say, okay, I can't grow hydrangeas anymore, but I can grow fern bushes. And to me, it's an easy trade out. But, so you'll probably, if you don't already, you'll come to love it.
I have an identification question. I had this little, I always just call them pallet cactus, but it doesn't have the long needles in it. And just for fun, the first year I was here, I put it outside. Well, it's really gone to town, but it's got those shaped things, but yellow on the top that are the worst teeny tiny needles you will ever see. If you get your hand anywhere near them, it's not a cholla, but they would jump right in there. Do you have any idea what that is?
Actually, Patty has one of the kinds of it. They have a bunch of those down in Sedona too. They're called Santa Rita cactuses.
Santa Rita.
And they do grow, if you're in a warm part of northern Arizona or warm part of Flagstaff, they'll grow. Because she has them in on her cactus bed.
I do? You mean that little,
The little kind of purplish one.
yeah, I
Yeah,
thought
you
he
have-
was
And you have a baby Rita too, which is a Santa.
all right, which
Which is one of
this
those,
still this big, but.
it's
yeah.
not gonna get much bigger, cause I
Okay.
guess people have bred cactuses like they've bred roses and like they, and so if you get online, like, there's some places that are just dedicated to cactus, you can Google them up, and you can see, like, they'll put all these different colors of flowers on, and, different colors of spines, and people, like, mix this cactus with that cactus, and this cactus with that cactus, and, I mean, they have all sorts of stuff out there. So, cause there's one that, it's this one here, it's a type of that one there. Okay, and it's called the Santa Rita cactus, and so they don't really have a lot of spines on them, but they do have a lot of, I think Patty was talking about glockets, which are like these little itty bitty teeny spines that kind of,
And they're really hard to get out, you have to get a light and a magnifying glass if you're at a certain age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
those are glockets that you have on there, but I think that's probably, from what you're saying, I think that's probably what it is. 'Cause
I
that's-
sure like it in my front yard because it is just expanded all over.
Has it flowered yet?
No.
Okay, I'm interested to see if it has the purple flowers or the yellow flowers, 'cause
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're pretty.
this garden was planted last July, and so I was amazed to have those little, and very happy.
Cause she has, I mean, that's all the same species, but the baby Ritas, they don't, it's sort of like this guy here. It's the same thing as, the same species as the ones that are up on top of the, Buffalo Park, but it doesn't have any spines. And it's kind of like, the cactus of commerce too, what is that? I can't get that guy's name, his cactuses, the ones that you eat in the store. Yeah, if you go down to Mexico and look at the ones that they actually came from, they have big spines on them, but they've been bred not to have spines. So it's the same thing with cactuses. They've done that with them. There's a lot of people that are cactus enthusiasts that mix and match and breed cactuses. So.
Do you ever see Brazilian prickly pears up here?
I have some in a pot, but I don't dare take them out. So I don't think they would survive up here. However, there are some from out of the Atacama Mountains that I wish somebody would sell here, because they're kind of like a mound cactus, so they grow in a big mound and then they have the flowers that come up in the spring. But I haven't found anybody that's been, I don't know. And if you try to get something internationally, it's really it's a pain. So I haven't done it, but
I found one in Chicago. I think it was in a Mexican restaurant, but they threw it out into the street, and it was about my height. So I took it home, and it grew to be about 10 feet, but they grow like a tree.
Oh,
Like they go straight up with like a hard woody center, and then they come off. So I had to sell the big one when I moved because I literally couldn't fit it. But I have some smaller ones because it propagates like crazy. So if anyone wants some, let me know. And they have yellow flowers.
Sue wants one.
yeah, I have my.
What's your answer?
Yeah, unfortunately, my husband doesn't like this, but my inside's full of cactus.
Any other questions? Well, I hope this was helpful to.
And then I can't give you Warner's cactuses, but if you want, I guess I have some cactus out there. If you want any of my cactus, I'll put on my gloves and get a bag and take it out to the car. You're welcome to it.
Is this up for sale too?
Okay. Yeah, you can have that. It's kind of like that one that's, I don't have room to plant this in my yard and it's getting big, so anything, if you want any of them, you're welcome to them, because I don't know,
wanna turn this
And
off?
she told me she was gonna just put them out on the side.